Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty crucial for advanced English learners. Especially if you're shooting for that C1 level, we're talking about thinking directly in English.
Ah, yes. The leap beyond translation. It's a fascinating shift, isn't it?
It really is.
Because most learners, they start out with this kind of internal relay race.
Relay race, I like that.
Yeah. English comes in, whoosh, translates to their first language. They figure out a reply there, then translate it back into English before speaking.
Exactly. It's like your brain is doing double duty in every single conversation.
Right.
And look, it's a totally normal stage. We've all been there. But it can really cap your fluency, can't it?
Absolutely. It slows you right down.
Yeah, you hesitate, maybe miss some of the nuances.
And it can feel like you're not quite expressing your real thoughts or personality.
Totally. So thinking in English, that's the alternative.
It is. It cuts out that middle step entirely. Your brain starts to process things, formulate thoughts directly in English.
You hear English, you think English, you respond in English.
Pretty much, yeah. The thought itself originates in English.
Now that can sound a bit like, I don't know, linguistic magic.
Yeah, like it's something only certain people can do.
But that's really the myth we want to bust today, isn't it?
Definitely. Thinking in English isn't some innate talent. It's a skill.
A learnable skill.
Absolutely. Something you can train your brain to do step by step.
And the benefits are pretty significant.
Oh, huge. You'll see a real difference in how efficiently you speak. Less pausing, words flow better.
Smoother conversations.
And you develop a deeper, more intuitive feel for the language itself. You start getting the idioms, the subtle meanings.
It's understanding the cultural context almost.
Exactly. And crucially, especially for advanced fluency, it's just a massive sign that English is becoming second nature for you.
Okay, but I can hear some listeners thinking, yeah, sounds great, but how?
Sure.
Maybe you've been translating in your head for years. The idea of just switching that off, it feels daunting.
It does. It can feel really unnatural at first.
But we need to stress this isn't flipping a switch overnight.
Not at all. It's gradual. It's about building habits. And we're going to give you some really practical ways to start.
Good. So let's get specific. What does thinking in English actually mean?
Well, fundamentally, it's about your inner voice.
Yeah.
That constant stream of thoughts.
Your internal monologue.
Exactly. It starts happening in English. And it's also about those automatic links. You see something and the English word just appears.
Like you see a tree and the thought tree pops up directly.
Precisely. Without needing to think of the word in your native language first and then translate it. Oh, that's an arble. No, wait, tree. Just tree.
Right. So it's deeper than just knowing words. It's about that immediate connection.
Between the concept, the feeling, whatever you want to express, and the English language itself. No filter.
Okay. So let's dig into the why. Why is this shift so important? What are the big payoffs?
Well, number one is absolutely efficiency. Think about it translating back and forth constantly.
Exhausting.
It's a huge cognitive load. It takes time. It takes mental energy.
Right.
When you cut that out, your response time naturally gets faster. You can jump into conversations more easily, keep up with quicker speakers.
And you probably feel less tired after speaking English for a while.
Definitely less mentally drained. It's like taking a heavy backpack off while you're trying to run.
Good analogy. Okay, so efficiency is key. What else?
A much deeper connection with the language. This is really interesting.
How so?
When you translate, you're always sort of viewing English through the prism of your own language.
Like a filter.
Exactly. And that filter can sometimes flatten things out. It might strip away some of the specific cultural flavor, the nuance embedded in certain words or phrases.
I see.
Thinking directly in English lets you tap into that, the inherent feel of the language. You start understanding idioms more intuitively.
On a gut level, almost.
Yes. It's like watching a movie in the original language versus a dubbed version.
Yeah. Something always gets lost in translation, doesn't it?
It does. So your communication feels more authentic, more natural. There's even some thought that it might engage different brain pathways, leading to a more, holistic grasp of the language.
Fascinating. Like you're actually inhabiting the language more fully.
That's a good way to put it. And the third big point, as we mentioned, is it's a real hallmark of fluency.
Especially at that C1 level we keep mentioning.
Exactly. Because C1 isn't just about being accurate, it's about ease. It's about that effortless flow.
The sense that the language just works for you.
Right. When your thoughts naturally form in English, it shows the language is deeply integrated. It's less like a tool you're consciously picking up and using.
And more like just how you think.
Precisely. It becomes an extension of your own thought process. And that ease, that spontaneity, it gives you a massive confidence boost in all sorts of situations.
Okay, that all sounds incredibly positive, but let's be realistic. Making this switch, it's not always smooth sailing, is it? What are the common problems people run into?
Well, the biggest one is just that ingrained habit of translating.
Hard habit to break.
Very. If you've relied on it for years, it can feel almost impossible to just stop.
Right.
Then there's the worry about clarity. You might think, if I think in English directly, will my thoughts be as clear or complex as in my first language?
That's a valid concern, especially early on.
Totally. And linked to that is the fear of making mistakes.
Ah, yes.
The perfectionism trap.
Exactly. Thinking directly in English feels like taking the safety net away. What if I mess up the grammar or choose the wrong word in my own head?
It feels vulnerable, like stepping onto unfamiliar ground.
It does, but, and this is crucial, these feelings are completely normal. Everyone experiences this to some degree.
And they are challenges you can overcome.
Absolutely. With the right strategies and, maybe more importantly, the right mindset.
Okay, so let's get into that toolkit. What are some practical things people can start doing, like today?
Right. A really foundational one is simply labeling your surroundings.
Labeling.
Yeah. As you go through your day, just mentally name the objects you see. In English. So I'm sitting here, I see my microphone, I just think microphone.
Exactly. See your cup. Think cup. Window. Window. Don't translate it first, just the direct English word.
It just sounds almost too simple.
It does. But it's incredibly effective at building that direct object to English word link. It starts wiring your brain that way.
So start at home. Kitchen items, furniture.
Perfect place to start.
Yeah.
Then expand outwards. When you're walking outside, tree, car, building, sign.
Okay, labeling. Got it. What's next?
Building on that, you can start describing your actions.
Okay, narrating my life internally.
Kind of. As you're doing something, describe it in simple English sentences in your head. Making breakfast.
I am getting the milk. I am pouring the cereal.
Perfect. Keep it simple. I am opening the door. I am typing an email.
So this reinforces vocabulary and basic sentence structure.
Exactly. In the context of everyday activities, it makes it stick.
Makes sense. What else is in the toolkit?
Actively trying to switch your internal monologue to English. This is a big one.
That inner voice.
Yeah, the one that's always chatting away. Make a conscious choice to have those thoughts in English.
So instead of thinking in my native language about my plans,
try thinking, okay, what do I need to do next? I need to call David. Or even just simple observations. Wow, it's raining again.
even if it feels a bit forced at first.
Especially if it feels forced at first.
Yeah.
It's about building the muscle.
Okay, internal monologue. What about like physical reminders?
Good point. Sticky notes can be surprisingly helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Write the English word for objects on notes and stick them on those objects. Door on the door, fridge on the fridge.
A visual prompt.
Exactly. You can even put simple phrases. On the kettle, boil water. On your computer, check email. It just constantly nudges your brain towards English.
I like that. Simple but effective. Any others for this first batch?
One more for now, if you're comfortable and maybe have some privacy. Thinking aloud in English.
Actually speaking the thoughts.
Yeah, narrate what you're doing, but out loud this time. Okay, I'm chopping the onions now. Where's the garlic?
Might feel a bit odd talking to yourself.
It might, but it's fantastic practice. It connects the thinking directly to the speaking, bypassing that internal only step. Plus, it helps with pronunciation.
Okay, that's a great set to start with. Labeling, describing actions, internal monologue, sticky notes, and thinking aloud.
Foundational stuff.
Now, hearing about strategies is one thing, but sometimes stories help. Do you have any examples of learners who've actually, made this shift?
Definitely. Let's take Maria from Spain. She mentioned that when she first tried to think in English, it felt really artificial.
Like faking it in her own head.
Exactly. She started really small, just labeling things on her desk at work: pen, computer, notebook. She said she'd often catch herself thinking the Spanish word first.
Which is normal.
Totally normal.
Yeah.
But she'd consciously correct it. No pen. Over time, she found the English words just started coming more easily, more automatically.
And the result?
She said her speaking became noticeably smoother because her thoughts were already forming in English more often. Less hesitation. That's great.
Any others?
Yeah, there's Ahmed from Egypt. His big hurdle was that fear of inaccuracy.
Worried his English thoughts wouldn't be as good as his Arabic ones.
Precisely. He felt his English vocabulary wasn't nuanced enough. So he started super simple. Just thinking about everyday things in basic English.
Like what?
like planning his lunch or mentally running through ordering coffee before he went to the cafe. Really basic scenarios.
Practicing in the safety of his mind.
Exactly. And he found that the more he did that, the more confident he felt actually using English in real situations. The internal practice built external confidence.
These stories really highlight something important, don't they?
What's that?
The need to overcome perfectionism.
Oh, absolutely critical. It's probably the biggest mental block.
This idea that your English thoughts have to be perfect, grammatically flawless, complex.
Right from the start.
Yeah.
Which is impossible. Your internal thoughts are private. They're your practice ground.
Nobody's grading your inner monologue.
Exactly. Mistakes in your head are totally fine. They're part of the learning. You just need to get the message across to yourself. Let go of that pressure.
Think of it like a mental sandbox. Play around, experiment. Don't worry about getting it perfect.
That's the perfect attitude.
Okay, so we've got the foundational tools and the right mindset. What other techniques can people add to their arsenal?
Well, mental rehearsal is a powerful one.
How does that differ from just the internal monologue?
It's more focused. If you know you have a specific English interaction coming up, say a work meeting, a presentation, even just making a phone call.
You practice it in your head beforehand.
Exactly. Run through it mentally. What will you say? What might they ask? How will you respond? You're pre-paving the neural pathways in English.
Nice. What else?
Something really practical. Switch your everyday written notes to English.
Ooh, simple but effective. So, to-do lists, shopping lists.
Yep. Instead of writing them in your native language, just jot them down in English. Quick reminders, calendar entries.
Immersing yourself, even in those small written tasks.
Precisely. And if you're a visual person, try using mind maps in English.
For brainstorming or planning.
Yeah. Use English keywords and short phrases to map out ideas. It forces you to think and structure in English visually.
Good one. And we live in a tech world.
Right. Leverage technology. Lots of language apps have speaking prompts now.
Where you have to respond fairly quickly.
Exactly. Encouraging that direct English thought. Or even just set your phone reminders or calendar alerts in English. Little nudges throughout the day.
Okay, lots of tools there. Now, something you mentioned earlier about Ahmed worrying about his vocabulary. Is there a trick to managing that? Do you need a huge vocabulary to think in English?
That's a great question. And the answer is no, not initially. In fact, focusing on the power of simple vocabulary is often more effective.
Really? Like basic words?
Yes. Think about high-frequency, everyday verbs. Get, make, do, have, go, say. Native speakers use these constantly in tons of different ways.
They're the workhorses of the language.
Exactly. Trying to constantly search for the perfect, complex word when you're just trying to think can really jam up the process.
So it's better to use a simpler word and keep the thought flowing.
Absolutely. Think, start instead of commence. Think happy instead of elated. At least initially, in your internal thoughts. Fluency of thought is the goal here. You can refine later.
That takes some pressure off. Focus on core vocabulary first.
Definitely. And related to that is the idea of repetition and tiny habits.
Consistency over intensity.
You got it. Don't try to force yourself to think only in English for hours straight. That's exhausting and unsustainable.
So little and often.
Much better. Find small moments in your routine. Labeling things while the kettle boils. Thinking about your day in English while brushing your teeth.
5 minutes here, 2 minutes there.
Exactly. These tiny, consistent efforts build up over time. Maybe even track it just a check mark. Each day you do a small exercise. It helps build momentum.
Makes sense. Small habits stick. Okay, one last strategy.
Let's talk about creating an internal English dialogue.
Conversation with myself.
Basically, yes. Actively ask yourself questions in English and then answer them in English.
Okay, give me an example.
Start simple. What should I have for dinner tonight? Maybe pasta. Do I have all the ingredients? Let me check.
And then progress to more complex things.
Yeah. Think through opinions on a topic, plan out a project, even imagine having a conversation with someone else. What would you say? What might they reply?
So it's like mental sparring practice.
It really is. It develops that ability to think quickly and formulate responses on the fly, all within the English framework.
That sounds incredibly useful for real conversations.
It's huge.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Thinking in English, it's not magic.
Not magic, it's a skill.
A powerful one, though. Leads to faster speaking, deeper understanding, more confidence, especially hitting that C1 target.
Definitely. It really is a key to unlocking that next level of fluency.
But it takes work.
Consistent effort, absolutely. And being okay with messing up, especially in your own head. Seeing mistakes as learning, not failure.
Right. But we've armed everyone with a solid toolkit now.
We have labeling, describing actions using simple words first, mental rehearsal, sticky notes, mind maps, internal dialogues.
Make those tiny daily habits.
That's the foundation.
So to get people started, maybe a little challenge.
I like it. What do you propose?
How about this? For the next 7 days, just pick one technique we talked about. Just one.
Okay.
The one that resonates most with you. And practice it every day. Maybe it's 5 minutes of labeling in the morning. Maybe it's thinking about your commute in English.
Just one small thing daily for a week.
Exactly. And then just notice. How did it feel? Did anything change? Did it get any easier by day 7?
A little self-reflection.
Yeah, maybe even share your experience. But the key is just starting. Every single step you take, every little moment you choose to think in English.
It's chipping away at the old habit and building the new one. It all contributes to greater fluency down the line.
Absolutely. So embrace the process. It might feel a bit weird at first.
It probably will.
But stick with it. Thinking in English really does open up a whole new relationship with the language.
It truly does. Give it a try.